Hello everybody, Antoninsky here, and this is the second part of the tutorial making of Mudsoldier. And in this part I'll talk about how I combined all the renders together, how I rendered it out and painted over in Photoshop. Really quickly I'll go over keyshot setup here. So I had my materials applied to the guy right here. I will only mention this particular material that was soldier camouflage, and take a look here. I have a bigger, more detailed tutorial on how to set up shaders in Keyshot. If you check it on my channel, it will be, and that tutorial is called how to set up a Keyshot rock shader, but the idea is really the same. Have the same overlaying materials as in this camouflage. And pretty much just a black metal on top of the metallic parts. What I did later, I just applied a couple of those materials on top, so I would render out that combined shot, then I would render this one, and I would render out a couple more metallic renders. And I can do it, I mean, the same workflow we can do in any 3D application, Maya, 3ds Max. I would add it to a queue, and the way I do it in Keyshot, if you want different materials with the same object, you have to apply it, you have to add a new job to a queue. So you create a couple of new jobs for the queue, and then you render out during the night. Look, I have it here, the render queue. Just add a job, a couple more jobs, and then put it to render at night. And this with the renders I've done for the composite. So you can see I've done one camouflage without the dots and with the dots. I wasn't sure which one was going to be better, so I decided to just combine it later in Photoshop. So the back and yeah, just the white render. Okay, so here I'm inside Photoshop. This is the finished image. And I'll just go and unhide the layers that I have here one by one. So that's the base of it, of course, the original render. Then on top of it, was the render which was without the dots. And in the end, I decided that the kind of dotted layer looked a bit more sci-fi, kind of cooler. So I decided to stick to it. I only painted a few parts here which I wanted to be less of like that would have some wear and tear, a little bit of that, a little bit of wearing off, but really almost unnoticeable amount. Then there was this hue saturation layer, which you can modify it inside Keyshot, and I did that as well. But then I decided that maybe I want to change the color slightly, so I just only affected the reds on this camouflage and made it a bit more, I don't know, pinkish, you could say it. Okay, this one was just my dot layer, like broad strokes, just general dot. So I have a brush here selected that I would just go on top and add more. Obviously if I go and at 100%, this one is actually put at the lighten mode, and well, if I go to 100%, you can see that the render will shine, will be shown through. So I'll put it to pretty much minimal, like 14, and then applied some of this, well, not that, but some of this stuff on top to make more of a dusty feel. Okay, this another layer is just another wear and tear, especially you can see it on the hands. It's a bit more intense than the previous one. You can see it's actually set at 100% opacity at just normal layer mode, not like lighten at 14%. And this one I turned on by accident, but don't really remember what that does. I guess adds a bit more saturation, just a bit more vibrant. Okay, this one, sometimes what I would do, I would drop a layer and then I would just go and have some fun with just layering modes and see what some of them do. So I'm using my arrow keys on the keyboard, right? So, and I found that I don't remember which one of them. I think the color dodge was pretty nice. It's a minimal amount. It was adding something like extra dust layer on top. So I decided that yeah, I'll just keep it. Okay, here goes my group that I just renamed to metal. So all my metallic parts are here. I'll just turn off all of it for now. And yeah, so we have this render, the metal render, the bottom, well, it's the main layer, and I started just to paint on top of the layer mask. And here I've just found the brush I used. Having a good brush is obviously super important, and I'm using the Geometry Revives brush pack. I'll give a link in the description. I've already given a link to his description, but his brush pack, but I'll do it again. So the thing is with this brush, so right now it's in white, and you can see I'm painting, but it's like not really even. It leaves this really nice scratchy surface. So I do it along the sharp edges where you will most likely get the chipped paint and all that stuff. And I'll do a little bit of that, and just naturally you get a really nice edge. Comparing it, if you pick a more like solid brush, which I picked as well, but you have to then go and fix it rather than just do it at once and do it right without having to going back and fixing it. Is a little time saver. Okay, just an extra few scratches on top. Oh wait, I've had that layer shown prematurely. Okay, here I was thinking about these parts of the suit, this kind of holes. So my idea is that it's filled with some type of a liquid that will strengthen on impact. So you would also need some like valves that will, if there's some kind of overpressure in situation, then the extra liquid would start to spill out. Again, you get a few shots from a rifle. This area, like area of the abs, will be strengthened, but there will be extra pressure that will be coming out from these holes on the body. And that's like a backstory for this little sketched dirty holes. But it's pretty important to think about that, so to make it believable. And I was thinking about adding a little bit of liquid coming out of this of these holes like that, but I really kind of never really liked how it looked. Like it was looking a bit way too dirty and like worn, so I decided that's a bit too much. I decided not to add any extra liquids. And then I've added some stuff on the face. Just extra detail, just trying to paint also some of the bolts along with these scratches, also adding some type of detail. I haven't mentioned the layer effects here that I have on this scratch and stuff. So I have the inner shadow set up here that helps to add more realism, and not realism, but more realistic depth to the those parts. And you can see the options here. All right. So then I have a gradient map with the. I was thinking about making it like more rusty, this whole thing. So obviously you can see it's so blue because of the gradient map gradient, and I think I've just picked one of the ones I've used before in some other project, and I decided just to apply the hue and saturation adjustment layer to kill that blue stuff. So that makes it more of a rusty type of armor, kind of old and rusty, and maybe too much here actually. I think put like even less of saturation. Okay. Oh yeah, this was the attempt to add some liquid coming out from the valves, and it doesn't really look any good, so I didn't add it, I think, in the end anyway. So here you can see I decided to add some, well, lens flare, which kind of obviously ridiculous if you imagine going with a helmet that's so bright and it shines inside your eyes, but they do it all the time in games and movies, so it just looks better. So I just googled lens flare in images, and this one is actually free. You see it on YouTube, and just made a screenshot of that and applied it. I've applied it as a linear dodge. It's nice to do color dodge. It's up to you which one you pick. And just painted some glow with the color dodge, obviously just the blue. You can see it's pretty dull cyan type color, and then that on top, and color dodge will be better here. Again, really often I'll just see what happens if I move it up and down. I mean, if you change the blending modes. Okay, a little bit of shadowing on the chest plate, but it doesn't really do much at all. I think I've never used it. Alright, so the final pass. Okay, for the final pass I started with copying everything and putting it on top, applying a Gaussian blue, a little bit of that, a little bit of it to add some like blurriness to the whole thing. It's too much, of course. And then what did I do then? Then I've copied everything again, pasted it on top, and I'd actually run a denoiser, which is really my optional approach, like to add some smoothness to it. Because what I do actually, it kind of kills the quality, right? But I run the denoiser and then I run the sharpening again, which some of you my guys there can seem to be a little bit crazy. But was my idea for this guy. Then I added the chromatic aberration pass, which again is something that you try to get rid of in photos so much, but it's really easy to do. You duplicate a layer, then you just go into channels and you turn off one of the channels, and then you can just shift it a tiny bit and you can see the chromatic aberration happening. I only needed tiny bit. Even this kind of too much. And if you switch off different layers, you can see that different type of chromatic aberration is happening. So you might want to play around with colors. Okay, let's keep it at this. Then I added a gradient on top, like that. And that was my overlay gradient to bring out the chest a tiny bit, and some color lookup. Let's see. Yep. My options for the color lookup and extra levels. I think actually his legs a little bit way too dark. And oh, I've added this kind of spill, a magenta spill on top, which is everything I did was painting just random colors, doing that, and think it was on an overlay, maybe some low opacity, just adding a little bit more color to it that I liked. And yeah, that's it pretty much. Might seem a bit complicated, but it's really grows in complexity really easy. You just add more stuff, duplicate layer, paint a different mask on top, and it doesn't take that much time to finalize it. So I have this invisible layers that is just replicated with other layers. Okay, so that's the whole process for my guy. I hope you found few useful tips and tricks. Maybe you'll reuse it in your own work. And thank you for watching.